Hello?
Hello.
Right, wet t-shirt, no. How do you follow a presentation like that? How do you follow some of the extraordinary presenters that we've had here today? Maya made me cry. Just awesome. How do you follow that? So I need to be really extraordinary. Crikey. When I was 18, I was about as far away from extraordinary as you can possibly get. I was not particularly great at school, decided not to go to university, I decided to go to work. And so I commuted every day into London to go and work for a bank. And the best thing about doing that was the bunch of friends that I made commuting in and out of London. And they really were friends. And one particular Friday, we decided to do something naughty. No, we didn't rob the bank. We decided to throw a sickie. Now, the cameras are faced on me, not on you, but has anybody ever done that before? Okay, so there's a few of us, good, okay. And so 8 o'clock in the morning on a Friday morning, we all rocked up, half a dozen of us, to the port of Dover on the east coast of the UK. And one by one, we pinched our nose pretending we had a cold and phoned into our respective branches and said, I'm really sorry, do you know what, I feel dreadful and I can't make it in today. And the boss said, you know what, keep your germs, take the day off, take the weekend, and we'll see you Monday. And as we come off the phone, each of us were like, yes, we're going on this adventure. And our adventure, very simply, was a cross-channel ferry journey on something called a booze cruise. I don't know if you've ever heard of these things, but it's a very cheap ticket. You head across to a European country. We went to Belgium, and they make some great beer in Belgium. So we spent the whole day, fantastic day out, sampled the beer, the food, the pubs, the restaurants, soaked up some of the culture, and got to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was March, so it's spring. It had been a bright sunny day, but about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun starts to go, it starts to get a little bit cooler, and we decided to head back to port. And so we made our journey from where we were to the port, got there just before 6 o'clock, and we decided it was a bit too cold to go up on deck, so we decided to go down into the belly of the ship, find the canteen and order up a good hot meal for our journey home. And the ferry pulled away from port, just gone 6 o'clock, and within 5 minutes we kind of sensed that it was maybe going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride home. It was just rocking about a bit, the boat was rocking about a bit, and just as the boat pulled outside of the port walls, it started to list to one side quite heavily, so that a few plates and some cups and saucers fell off the tables onto the floor. And you start to look at each other with a little glint of fear in your eyes, because you don't quite understand what's going on. And within 20 seconds, the ferry had capsized completely onto its side in what was dubbed as Britain's worst maritime disaster since the Titanic. The year was 1987. The ferry was the herald of free enterprise. Me and my friends survived that disaster. 193 people lost their lives that night. But we were the lucky ones. We were in the belly of the ship, in the canteen, where the tables and chairs are bolted to the floor. That was really lucky. Because if you can imagine, that ship is like 100 or so feet wide. As it rolls onto its side, 100 foot in width becomes 100 foot in height. Food, crockery, cutlery, glass, people fell 100 or so feet. Makes rather a loud noise. People were injured as they fell to the bottom. Some people were dying. We, with our tables and chairs bolted to the floor, instinctively, as you start to roll, so I was rolling forwards, put your feet up on the chair in front of you, and as it rolled completely and came to a stop, we were standing on the back of the chair in front of us, with the table literally pinning us into place. And as it stopped, we were looking down at this carnage below. Screams were terrible. Instinct kicks in. If you move, you survive. James will like that one, I think. You don't think about it, you just move. We climbed up over the back of the chairs we were sitting at, underneath the table above us now. Chair, table, chair, like a ladder to get as high as we could and as far away as we could from the carnage beneath us. When we finally got as high as we could, we were on the back of the last seat. It was about 3 feet between that and what had been a glass partition wall with a handrail along it when the boat was upright. It's one of those where you walk down the side of the boat and you can look through it to see into the canteen kind of thing. Well, now you've rolled that way, it's literally a glass ceiling. Thick glass, couldn't break it. 3 feet from the back of the last seat to that. We could see through it 15 feet further on. There's the side of the boat with the portholes. Couldn't break it. At that point, bang. Enormous explosion beneath us, and we didn't know what it was. You look down, all of the portholes along the bottom side of the boat had imploded under the enormous pressure. And water does a very strange thing. It gushes white. So now you're looking down, you're hearing the screams of the people who are injured, are now fearful of drowning. And that white water, like some icy cold whirlpool jacuzzi, is now coming towards you and filling the boat from the bottom. And you have a glass ceiling above your head. As if things couldn't get worse. That's when the water trips the electrics and the whole place goes black. Now you can hear the screams even more, and the water getting louder and closer. I panicked. I decided I could maybe swing out on the handrail, and in some act of heroics, maybe climb my way along like the SAS would, and find my way 10 meters away to a doorway, swing up through, walk back along and kick the glass through. That might save us. I got one hand in front of the other before the handrail couldn't take my weight. It snapped. I fell 30 feet straight down into the water that was coming up. It was cold. Apparently the temperature of the water meant that you'd survive 20 minutes. People fell on top of me, they pushed me under the water, and I fought to keep my head above it. And as I did, I've got to be honest, things just slowed down. It all went a bit trippy. And as I was fighting to tread water and things were slowing down, I thought, you know what, this is it. I'm going to die here. I'm actually going to drown here. And it's coming. And I'm not dead yet, but it's coming. And 2 words involuntarily came into my mind and out of my mouth, and they were, sorry, Mum. Sorry, Mum. No idea why at the time, but on reflection, I hadn't made a great academic success of myself at school, so I didn't have that for her to be proud of. I hadn't gone and created some great career. I'd just started work. I didn't have that for her to be proud of. I hadn't settled down and brought my parents' grandchildren. They didn't have that to be proud of. I really hadn't yet lived up to any of the promise that having a son might bring a parent. And so I apologized. At that moment, my arm banged against a table as I was treading water, and it sort of snapped me out of it and brought me to. And I remember thinking 3 things. First, I'm not dead. Oh, I'm still not dead. That's good. I'm not drowning either. I'm treading water. And thirdly, my arm just hit this table, and I've just climbed that table and chair ladder once. I can do this again, and so I did. This time when I got to the top, 2 things were different. 1, the glass ceiling was gone. It had shattered. Somehow it had broken. 2nd, thankfully, the water had stopped rising. We didn't know. The boat could have been submerged entirely for all we knew, but it wasn't. It was semi-submerged, and therefore the water had stopped some 6 feet short of the back of that last chair. For us, that meant all the people that were there had to do was to wait 10 minutes for the rescue services to come to the side of the boat. They smashed the little tiny round portholes that were on the side of the boat and lowered ropes down to pluck us out one by one. Got us up onto the side of the boat and brought tugboats up at the side to take us away. And I can't tell you the feeling of elation, the euphoric joy at having been saved when you think you're going to die is a feeling like the relief. I hugged the guy as I was pulled up and out of the pool. I hugged him. I said, "Thank you so much for saving me." And all he was interested in was saving the next person. What a star! Just thank you to the rescue services that night. We popped on board these tugboats, and they took us away to the 300 or so of us that survived to hotels in Zeebrugge, and put us up overnight. On the Saturday, so that's the Friday. On the Saturday morning, we woke up and you're like that, what was that? And the ferry company came and, presented to us and they said, right, we've laid on another ferry, we can get you all home now. Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm getting on there. So a few, I don't know who they were, but a few people did. Bless them. British Caledonian, there's an old airline name. They laid on some courtesy flights. We got back to Gatwick on the Saturday evening. Families picked us up, took us home, collapsed exhausted into bed. Sunday morning, let's remember, this is 1987, okay? There isn't internet, there's not social media, there's not multiple TV channels. There were like 3, I think, in the UK at that time. So you get your news from the TV, from the radio, and from the newspapers. So Sunday morning, we're up, straight down the newsagent by every single Sunday paper. You go, what on earth? The pictures are now zooming in and finding the wreckage and people being pulled up, all that grotesque stuff going on. See all of that. Come Monday, I'm commuting back to work. Now, I don't know how many of you have commuted on trains, many of you, I guess, but you kind of sit opposite the person facing you, knee to knee, and their newspapers are wide open, so their front page is right in my face, and by now the pictures are pretty gory. And I get back into work, and the first question the boss asked me is, "Are you feeling any better?" So here's my first lesson from this. I said, "Yeah, lots better, thanks." I lied. Why? I'd thrown a sickie. I didn't want to get into trouble for taking time off of work. Big lesson, be honest. I haven't taken a day sick since. Honest. Couldn't face the consequences of it. It will happen again, I just know it, But there are other lessons. A couple of weeks later, I had to reinforce my lie. I must tell you this. They came around with one of these pots collecting for the survivors of the Herald of Free Enterprise. Rather than own up at that point, I put into the collection. Mad. Let's be honest, I've learned other things. Life is precious, isn't it? The speakers today have been fantastic. There have been calls to action gently from everybody. So I'm just going to sort of wrap up with 3 reflections that I've got as little reminders, if you like, to us. I didn't think of these 3 things at the time, and I certainly haven't done them proactively. It's really partly by doing this TED Talk that I've reflected and thought about what these things are. The first of the 3 things that I've learned has been to have fun. So working in a bank, not the most exciting of worlds, but that's, I decided I play piano, so I joined a band. I look slightly angry there on the white jeans, but so we played gigs, we rehearsed, we played rock and pop and pressed the CD. We got on Radio 1 once. We never got famous, but the amount of fun we had from putting a talent. So my call is, if you've got a talent, are you putting it to use? Are you going to have some fun? The second lesson for me, if you do, that's us now, the band members. So I'm not going to keep that picture on the screen for too long. We remember the fun that we had. So it's not just in the moment. You've got it for life. How great's that? Grab a talent. Go put it to practice. Second thought was about variety. They say variety is the spice of life. Seek out new experiences. There's been lots and lots of thought today generated around what we might do differently with the results of some of the TED speakers. And I think for TED more broadly, it's got So many great concepts and ideas. They are worth spreading. They'll only get spread if we take them out and spread them and go and do them. I decided bank world wasn't for me. I decided my variety. At 28, I was offered a voluntary redundancy package. Some people were really down about it and went and hunted the same job somewhere else. I decided, no, let's flip that. So I went to, as Steve said, to Ibiza to work as a Club 1830 rep. See if you can pick me out. I'm right up there somewhere, next to the girl with the black hair in the corner. There you go. We also played a football match in Ibiza and we won, so I got champagne on the go. Yes, on Tuesday nights I was a Spice Girl. On Thursday nights I was a cowboy. So you don't get much more variety than that. I know you're thinking, which Spice Girl? I'm not going there. Just not going there. My third and final part is about love. I don't necessarily mean in the romantic sense, although we've had one or two Einstein quotes today. I'd like to share an Einstein quote with you about love. Not in the in-love sense, but in the sense that Dan Fox was talking about earlier. And Einstein said, any man who can drive safely while kissing a pretty girl simply is not paying the kiss the attention it deserves. These are the things I invest my time in. I've got two gorgeous kids now. I said, sorry, Mum. Well, I'd like to think that I've brought her pride from having now qualified. I came to education later in life. I have a successful business where we train people in leadership and management skills. And I brought her two gorgeous grandchildren. Jessica's very artistic. That's an acrostic poem she did. Daddy's daft, always happy. Yellow's my favourite colour. Me and my son, instead of buying a go-kart, we made one a couple of weeks ago, and he's taken great fun in running the wheels off it just recently. I'd like to say I haven't always been happy. I did suffer with post-traumatic stress, but the professional counselling I got taught me to simply say, don't worry too much about the past, because that's what makes you depressed. Don't worry too much about the future, that's what will get you anxious. Instead, choose the here and now to do these things that I've shared with you. And a quote from a famous children's movie called Kung Fu Panda to close on. Master Uguay, the elderly tortoise, said, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. It's the greatest gift, isn't it? It's the here and now. That's why they call it the present. And I'd like to simply ask you to enjoy your present, enjoy today, enjoy your life. Thank you very much.